In this problem, we are being asked what was the amount of costs incurred by the firm. We're given information about the depreciation, sales, addition to retained earnings, how much interest they paid, and how much dividends were paid. And we are also given a tax rate. First of all, let's figure out what do we know that involves those costs. Well, without further ado, that's net income. I'm just going to call that NI. Or let's do this. EBT equals sales minus costs minus depreciation minus interest expense. So if we can figure out what EBT is, we are given the sales, we're given the depreciation, and we're given the interest expense. Hence, this will tell me costs would be equal to sales minus depreciation minus interest expense and minus EBT. So let's figure out EBT. Well, how are we going to figure out? Another formula that involves EBT is net income equals EBT times 1 minus tax rate, which necessarily implies that EBT equals net income divided by 1 minus tax rate. Okay, we're kind of getting towards the end of the puzzle. We do know the tax rate, so we do need to figure out what net income is. Well, we have another identity that involves net income. Net income equals dividends paid plus change in retained earnings. Are we given both of those in this problem? Yes and yes. And using the numbers we are given, the firm paid $17,000 in dividend, and they added $50,000 to retained earnings. That means net income was $67,000. Okay, now we know net income. Using this equation right here, we can figure out EBT, net income of $67,000 divided by 1 minus the tax rate, which is 32.5%. That means earnings before taxes was $99,000 and some change. All right. And finally, right here we figured out costs should be sales minus depreciation minus interest expense minus EBT. So costs are equal to sales, let's see, $364,000. Depreciation, where are you? 63,000. Interest expense 13,000. And finally, the EBT we just calculated. I'm gonna be rather lazy. I'm gonna copy and paste it here. And the answer is 188,740. I'll just use a different color for that. Yellowish, maybe. If I can find a yellow. Right here. Let's make it greenish. Again, to recap, using the definition of earnings before tax, we found an expression for costs. Then we figured out what we didn't know, EBT. Well, we can calculate EBT if you knew what net income was. And finally, we used the identity that net income must be distributed either as dividends or retained in the firm as change in retained earnings.